So for a while, psychologists and musicians believed that listening to Mozart and other classical music could make you smarter. They called this the Mozart Effect, but the evidence for it is a little bit mixed. The idea that classical music made you smarter was a pretty popular idea, so a bunch of people actually tested it. And for a while, a few research articles were popping up that had evidence in favor of it. And they did find that listening to some Mozart pieces did have a slight effect on IQ tests. However, this effect only lasted about 15 minutes, and there wasn't any longitudinal effects. Subsequent researchers have tried to find a more long-lasting effect, but so far nobody's found any evidence for it. Additionally, the 15-minute intelligence boost that they did find wasn't actually unique to Mozart or classical music at all. They were able to find that effect for basically any uplifting, energetic music. And many researchers have been unable to find any effect at all. And when there are inconsistencies in research, people usually do meta-analyses where they look at all of the research done on a topic and try to figure out what's going on. And in 2010, a pretty comprehensive meta-analysis containing 39 studies was conducted. And they found that there was basically no evidence for the Mozart effect. But just like in many areas of psychology, when people found results, those results were published. When people conduct studies that don't find any interesting results, those studies aren't always published. So listening to Mozart won't make you smarter, but there are other ways for classical music to be a good influence on your intelligence. Psychologists have found much more promising effects of learning an instrument on people's intelligence. Learning an instrument is basically good practice for learning all sorts of other things, since it involves fine motor skills, reasoning, multitasking, and so many other things that are generally difficult cognitively. Learning an instrument can really practice a ton of things at once. And listening to classical music did have some positive influence on people who were actively studying. People who studied while classical music was playing were able to remember more of what they were studying. And that's probably the closest thing to the Mozart effect that has actually been found to be relatively reliable. People are also more likely to retain information if they put that information to music. So even though the Mozart effect in its classical form did not hold up against empirical testing it actually did bring about some really important information about music and music education to psychology. So if you want to learn more about the psychology of music or psychology in general, like, subscribe, and support me on Patreon. Thanks for watching.